Right now, you're sitting in your executive office facing a massive multi-million-dollar organization dilemma. You open ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini and you type in a single paragraph asking the machine for a strategic solution. You hit enter, and 3 seconds later, the AI spits out perfectly formatted, grammatically correct list of generic, recycled best practices. You take that output into the boardroom, present it to your executive committee, and it instantly collapses under the slightest intellectual scrutiny. You blame the AI. You tell yourself that the technology just isn't ready for a high-level corporate strategy. You are operating under a catastrophic structural illusion. Most leaders use large language models like basic search engines, but single-turn prompt are mathematically guaranteed to fail you. Most critical organizational dilemma. If you want boardroom-ready intelligence, you must move beyond simple questions. The raw outputs generated by a single prompt are far too superficial for actual executive implementation. Before I completely deconstruct the death of a single turn prompt, expose the adversarial reasoning frameworks that forces an AI to attack its own logic, and give you the precise architectural blueprint to build multi-layered prompt chains that deliver defensible strategic intelligence, hit the subscribe button and press the notification bell. I post daily videos showing you exactly how to navigate the global labor and capital market using cold, hard engineering logic. You do not want to miss these execution protocols. Today, we are moving past the amateur era of generative AI. We are architecturing the recursive feedback loop and logic sequences that transforms a standard language model, a ruthless, high-value consulting firm. Grab a notebook. It is time to stop asking basic questions and start engineering strategic algorithm. Welcome back, I'm Dr. HR. To understand why my approach to the artificial intelligence and corporate strategy is aggressively different from the basic AI tips and tricks peddled by the internet gurus, you must understand my underlying structural logic. I hold a PhD in human resources, a bachelor's in computer engineering, and master's from Tata Institute of Social Sciences. I do not look at LLM as a chatbot. I look at it as a raw cognitive engine waiting to be calibrated. Operating on the ground here in Dubai since 2010, consulting for Tier 1 corporate entities and global banks, I have witnessed firsthand how the highest paid executives are actually deploying this technology. They are not asking the machine for advice. They are forcing the machine through a highly constrained, multi-step gauntlet of logic. We are going to systematically deconstruct this execution protocol through 5 distinct phases: the single turn trap, the sequential engine, the synthetic adversary, the calibration loop, and the defensible artifact. Phase 1. The single turn trap, the superficiality crisis. If you want to extract elite, unassailable strategy for a machine, you must first understand the mathematical flaw in how 99% of the corporate world currently interacts with it. When you ask an AI a complex strategic question in a single prompt, for example, how do I restructure my supply chain to mitigate geopolitical risk in Southeast Asia? You are forcing the model to guess the entirety of your context, your constraint, and your ultimate goal in one single processing pass. Imagine walking into a hospital, finding a brilliant neurosurgeon in the hallway and saying, "I have a headache. How do you fix my brain?" The surgeon has no blood work, no MRI scans, and no medical history. To avoid killing you, the surgeon will give you the safest, most generic advice possible. Drink water and take an aspirin. This is exactly how an LLM operates. Because it is a probabilistic engine, when faced with a massive, unconstrained request, it executes a mathematical regression to the mean. It aggregates the most common, average advice found in its training data and feed it back to you. It gives you the drink water and take an aspirin equivalent of corporate strategy. Diversify your supplier, invest in the technology, and monitor the situation. This is a single turn trap. It produces a superficiality crisis. The output sounds professional, but it lacks the structural rigor, the specific financial calculations, and the operational friction required for the actual executive implementation. It is technically accurate, but practically useless. If you use single-turn prompts for complex problems, you're guaranteeing an output that is perfectly, aggressively average. Phase 2, the sequential engine, architecturing the chain. To shatter the single-turn trap, Apex operators do not use prompts, they engineer prompt chains. A prompt chain is a deliberate fragmentation of a massive cognitive task into a strict, sequential pipeline of isolated micro-prompts. You do not ask the AI for the final answer. You guide the AI through the exact analytical methodology a top-tier management consultant would use, forcing the machine to show its work at every single node. Think of a high-end automotive assembly line. You do not dump a pile of steel and rubber into a single machine and expect a finished luxury car to pop out. You pass the chassis through a series of highly specialized robotic stations. Station 1 builds the frame, Station 2 installs the engine, Station 3 calibrates the electronics. Each station relies on the flawless execution of the previous one. We must build the sequential engine for your strategic dilemmas. Let us architect a real-world example. A mid-sized tech firm needs to decide whether to acquire a smaller competitor or build the technology in-house. Node 1. Data ingestion and framing. You do not ask for a decision. You first prompt a purely analytical prompt. Analyze the provided financial data and market positioning of a company A and company B. Do not provide a recommendation. Output a strictly factual matrix comparing their operational burn rates, customer acquisition cost, and technological overlaps. Node 2. The build scenario simulation. You take the output from Node 1 and feed it into Node 2 prompt. Based entirely on the data matrix generated above, simulate the build scenario. Outline the exact engineering timeline, projected capital expenditure, and opportunity cost of developing Company B's core technology internally over the next 18 months. Node 3. The buy scenario simulation. Prompt. Now simulate the buy scenario. Calculate the financial premium required for acquisition, the cultural integration friction, and the legal compliance timeline based on current M&A regulations. By forcing the AI to process each scenario in isolation, you prevent the algorithms from blending the data into muddy, compromised middle ground. You are extracting high-fidelity analysis at every single step. The architecture of your logic dictates the quality of your intelligence. Phase 3, the synthetic adversary, cognitive red teaming. You have now used the sequential engine to generate a highly detailed strategic plan. An amateur would take this plan, print it out, and walk directly into the boardroom. That is a fatal error. The plan is untested, it is fragile, it was generated in a vacuum of optimism. Before you ever present a strategy to the human executive board, you must subject to the violent, unyielding algorithmic scrutiny. You must deploy the synthetic adversary. In elite military and cybersecurity operations, leaders utilize red team, group of highly trained experts whose sole job is to ruthlessly attack their own organization defenses to find the vulnerabilities before the real enemy does. You must engineer cognitive red teaming into your prompt chain. Once your LLM has generated the buy versus build strategy, you open a new node in the chain and fundamentally alter the persona and the constraint of the AI. Prompt: you are no longer a neutral strategic analyst. You are a ruthless, highly skeptical chief financial officer who hates risk and is looking for a reason to kill this project. Your goal is to destroy the buy strategy generated above. Attack the financial assumptions, expose the integration risk, and highlight the regulatory blind spot. Do not hold back. Output the top 5 reasons this acquisition will result in catastrophic destruction of the shareholder value. The machine is now forced to turn its immense computational power against its own previous logic. Because you have changed the systematic constraint, shifting the directive from creation to destruction. The AI will expose the exact structural flaws, the optimistic budget projections, and the operational friction that your competitors or your board members will use to attack you. It will point out that the customer acquisition cost model did not account for upcoming changes in data privacy law. It will highlight that merging 2 completely different backend coding languages will cause a 6-month delay in product rollout. You are purchasing boardroom immunity by letting the machine punch holes into your armor in private, so you do not bleed in public. Never present an unattacked strategy, an untested algorithm in an organization liability. Phase 4, the calibration loop, recursive feedback. Once the synthetic adversary has torn your strategy to shred, you possesses the most valuable data in the entire sequence, the exact failure points of your plan. The next step is not to abandon the strategy. The next step is to engineer the calibration loop. The standard linear process stops when a problem is found. A recursive loop feeds the problem back into the origin to generate a fortified solution. You must force the AI to reconcile its initial strategy with its own devastating critique. Imagine forcing a samurai sword. You do not heat the steel and hit it once. You heat it, strike it, fold the metal over itself, and repeat the process thousands of times. Every single fold removes the impurity and aligns the crystalline structure of the steel, making it exponentially stronger and more resilient. You apply this exact metallurgical physics to your prompt chain. Prompt: review the 5 catastrophic failure points identified by the CFO persona. You are now the Chief Restructuring Officer. Rewrite the original buy strategy. For every single vulnerability identified, you must embed a specific mathematically sound mitigation protocol into the new plan. Adjust the budget constraint, extend the integration timeline to account for the coding friction, and outline a legal hedge against the privacy regulations. The AI now generates a version 2.0. But you do not stop there, you run the calibration loop again. You take the version 2.0 and you prompt a new synthetic adversary, perhaps a disgruntled lead engineer or a hostile activist investor, to attack it. You repeat this recursive feedback loop 2, 3, or 4 times. With each iteration, the strategy becomes denser. The risk is mitigated and the operational protocol becomes bulletproof. The superficiality of a single turn prompt has completely eradicated. The AI is no longer guessing. It is refining an ironclad architectural blueprint based on extreme simulated stress testing. A strategy only becomes resilient when it has survived the crucible of its own simulated destruction. Phase 5, the defensible artifact, the boardroom matrix. The final phase of the high-value prompt chain is translating this dense, recursive logic into an executive format that commands absolute authority. You have the fortified data, but if you present it as a wall of raw text, the C-suite will ignore it. Executive attention is the scarcest commodity in the 2026 enterprise. You must package the intelligence into a defensible artifact. You do not want the output to look like a ChatGPT chat log. You want it to look like a $500,000 commission report from McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group. This requires the final node in your prompt chain, the formatting directive prompt. Take the final recursively fortified strategy, package intelligence for a board of directors meeting. You must output the data in the following strict architecture. 1. An executive summary, maximum 250 words, stating the exact financial delta between the final decision and the status quo. 2. The risk mitigation matrix, a table detailing the top 3 adversarial threat and our pre-engineered solution. 3. The 90-day execution protocol, a chronological step-by-step rollout plan, assigning specific accountability to the legal, tech, and financial department. Maintain a cold, unsentimental, and highly authoritative tone. When you print this artifact and lay it on the boardroom table, it is unassailable. When a board member attempts to challenge your timeline, you do not panic. You point to the risk mitigation matrix, proving that you have already anticipated their exact objection and pre-engineered the financial buffer to absorb it. You are no longer defending an idea, you are presenting a mathematical certainty. This is the ultimate competitive edge strategy for the 2026 executive. You are not smarter than the board, but your logic sequence has processed 10,000 permutations of the failure because 10,000 permutations of the failure before they even walked into that room. You have eliminated bias, you have eradicated superficiality, you have transformed a standard language model into an ultimate strategic weapon. Stop settling for a generic AI advice that collapses under scrutiny. Architect the chain, build a sequential engine, deploy the synthetic adversary, fold the logic through the calibration loop, and extract the defensible artifact. The machine is ready to dominate the boardroom. The only question is whether you possess the architectural discipline to command it. Process the data, execute the strategy, and I'll see you at the top.